Morning all. I'm going to talk to you today about Steve Payne. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people watching this video saying, who? Yeah, and it is a career that's shorter than it should be, so I'm going to add this to the shortened careers playlist that I haven't put anything on for a while, but this one definitely qualifies. Even though he played more than 600 games in the NHL, it should have been a lot more than that. Steve Payne was a goal scorer. He was drafted by the Minnesota North Stars as the number 19 pick in 1978. And right away, he was greeted into the NHL with open arms. 70 games played in 78-79. 23 goals, 17 assists, 40 points. Really good rookie season for him. Of course, they had Bobby Smith come in. They were going to have Dino Ciccarelli not too long down the road. Neil Broughton was going to come in not too long down the road. The Minnesota North Stars had a very good young team to which they could build around, and Craig Hartsburg was their captain, I do believe it, around this time. 79-80. 80 games played, 42 goals, 43 assists, 85 points. That's how you have a sophomore year right there. 85 points and 42 goals. In the playoffs, 15 games, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points. He did play in the All-Star game that year as well, so not too shabby. 80-81, played 76 games, 30 goals, 28 assists, 58 points. So his points per game in the regular season drops. He makes up for that in the postseason. In 19 games, he had 17 goals, 12 assists, 29 points. So when you look up like a top 10 list of all-time top goal-scoring seasons in the postseason, and you see Steve Payne there with 17 goals, it is one of those things that people might react with, who? But Steve Payne, he was excellent during that run in 81, became one of my favorite players, and who wouldn't like a guy named Payne? Sadly, not a lot of fights in his career. 81-82, 74 games played, 33 goals, 45 assists, 78 points. So he's back above point per game during the regular season. He is in the playoffs as well, but Minnesota doesn't go very far. So in 4 games, he has 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points. 82-83, 80 games played, 30 goals, 39 assists, 69 points. In the playoffs, 9 games, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points. So points per game in the regular season lower than in the playoffs. That becomes a pattern. 83-84, in 78 games, he scores 28 goals, 31 assists, 59 points. In 15 playoff games, he adds 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points. 84-85, plays 76 games, 29 goals, 22 assists, 51 points. In the playoffs, 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points in 9 games. He played in the All-Star game that year, and it should have been just another year building on him becoming a regular 30-goal scorer in the NHL, maybe 40 again. But he suffers a serious neck injury in the playoffs. It is a neck injury that by today's standards likely would have ended his career. And it doesn't, because the standards at that time are, you feel good enough to play, off you go. 85-86, as he's fighting with those injuries, he's also dealing with knee injuries. And he would come to realize after his career was done, he'd gone through some concussions too. So 22 games played, 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points. So not a lot of games played and had to be a frustrating season for him. 86-87, plays 48 games, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. But he's still dealing with neck issues and his knees and various other injuries, but he wants to play through them. He's a warrior. He's your standard 80s hockey player. He is willing to go out and play through almost anything. You know, he's the kind of guy that coaches and GMs just love. In 87-88, he actually felt good coming into this season. He thought he had a real opportunity to, maybe get his game back. He played 9 games that year, though. 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. He took a blindside hit from Dale Hunter, and that essentially ended his career. It irritated his cervical/neck injury, and so that was it. That was really it for him. He stopped playing, too, because he had a 4-year-old and a 10-month-old at home. Said that if he didn't have, young children that he wanted to be there for and be healthy for, that he probably would have kept playing. He probably just would have kept going. So his career, he's in 613 games played. 228 goals, 238 assists, 466 points. In the playoffs, 71 games played, 35 goals, 35 assists, 70 points. So almost exactly a point per game in the playoffs. He was definitely a big game guy. Now, he was also a big goal guy. April 6th of 1981, or April 8th of 1981, when the North Stars are going to their Stanley Cup final run, He scores at 3:34 of overtime in Game 1 against the Boston Bruins. 8 days later, Game 1 in the next series against Buffalo, he scores at 22 seconds of overtime. So not wasting any time in either of those. And then in 1984, on April 22nd, he scored at 6 minutes exactly of overtime in Game 7 against the St. Louis Blues to take them out. So series openers for the first two, and then a series closer for the third. He was a big goal guy. That was what he did. Lou Nanne, who was the GM of the Minnesota North Stars, said he was the best clutch goal scorer that team had, and that he got more big goals than anyone. So if you needed a big goal late in a game or in overtime, you'd put Steve Payne on the ice and just watch him work. He was, and again, if not for injury, we'd be likely talking about a guy who scored 400 goals in his career. We'd be talking about maybe 800, 900 points and all that fun stuff. But because of injury, he doesn't reach those lofty totals. The interesting thing, too, is that he did join the concussion lawsuit that was settled a couple of years back by the National Hockey League. He didn't join in for money. He said, I'm not doing this for money. He wanted the NHL held accountable for the way it had marketed itself and for how dangerously they had treated players' health. That he had always felt that if you don't get knocked out, you don't have a concussion. So if you get up, yeah, you're a little wobbly, yeah, you can see double, but you're fine because you didn't get knocked out. So there wasn't really any discussions of what might be a concussion, what could be a concussion, and he has no idea how many he had because they just didn't diagnose them back then. Doctors saw him after his career ended about his injury, right? And they told him he shouldn't have been playing after the neck injury that he suffered back here in '85. That if he was hit from the wrong angle, he would have lost the use of his left arm because of where that injury was in his back. So, I mean, that's some scary stuff. And when you hear that from doctors that aren't being paid by the NHL, whereas doctors being paid by the NHL are like, you're fine. Just go out there, you're fine. Probably gave him some aspirin. Probably said, yeah, no, you'll be fine. You know, just run it off kind of thing. Yeah, he's dealt with issues since retirement too, which line up with CTE, which is the condition you can have after too many concussions. He has short-term memory issues, and he was having a lot of anger issues in the 2000s, which actually led to his divorce. The good news is he did get treatment. He did then reunite and remarry his ex-wife. And so that did get fixed. And he did his best to clean that up and make sure that his life didn't completely careen off, as some do after players are done. So for Steve Payne, it is a shame that the career didn't last longer. But now I've done the video on it, and we've had the discussion, and he is one of those forgotten goal scorers from the 1980s. A lot of goals being scored in the 80s, I get it, but he was one of my favorite players in the early mid-80s. Absolutely was. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.